log on to patreon.com/Dane Calloway or paypal.me/Dane Calloway to support me, my channel, and my content. Merchandise is now available at I'mJustHereToMakeYouThink.com. Oseo brothers and sisters, relatives, and free thinkers, today I will be covering some things that you may have heard, but probably not to this extent. And before I do so, I want to inform the newly 18,341 incoming subscribers that have accumulated this month to please be sure to hit the bell button that is beside the subscribe button below this video in order to receive proper notifications of when I do post new content to my channel. And thank you very much for joining me today. As of now, this prolonged shutdown of the US government has surpassed more than 30 days, and it has become a huge burden for hundreds of thousands of American people, whether if they are employed by the government, contracted to work for the government, dependent on living assistance provided by the government, or just simply waiting to hear an answer about whether they would receive their income tax check or not. And the list continues. I mean, just listen to how that sounds. The American people are suffering from an in-house crisis, and their very own government is fully responsible for the creation and contributions towards this issue. Now, some of you may say that the American people have been in this position before, and I agree with you, being as though, ironically, December 22nd, 2018 will make it the 22nd time a US government shutdown was mandated since 1976. However, this time around, this shutdown has set a record for being the longest transpiring shutdown in American history. In masonry fashion, of course, being closed for exactly 33 days. It is also important to note that just about a week before the government shutdown occurred, the fiscal year ended immediately, okay? And immediately after that, a new one began for those government workers who were not affected by this crisis. Yeah. There are government workers who were still being paid, like, for example, politicians, congressional leaders, Vice President Pence, cabinet secretaries, and even senior administrative officials, who all received a healthy raise with their incomes ranging from $15,000 or more, due to multiple laws that were passed between 2017 and 2019. Based from these actions and some others that I'm about to share with you later on, should make you question everything and ask, was this government shutdown pre-planned in the first place? Now, as of January 25th, 2019, President Trump and congressional leaders have agreed to a rather temporary measure in regards to reopening the government. But this reopening is limited to just 3 weeks long. Trump firmly pledges that he will in fact shut the government down again on February 15th, 2019, if Congress fails to approve funding for the US-Mexico border wall. So, is this president of the United States threatening over 800,000 plus federal and district workers again, who have absolutely no power or control as to providing him or this Congress the funds for some border wall? Wait a minute. So You mean to tell me that since the Republicans and the Democrats cannot come to an agreement about something, then all blue collar and even some white collar employees of the government should suffer? Risking possible bankruptcies, evictions, home foreclosures, auto repossessions, credit delinquencies, turning these hardworking government employees into dependents of welfare assistance overnight? Oh, so that's what it means to make America great again? Now, your local and national news media stations fails to inform you about a law that states that any non-essential government employee can be fired after a full 30 days of a government shutdown. According to the Office of Personnel Management, this procedure is called reductions in force, or RIF for short. It allows for any department or agency of the government to, quote, terminate occupied employment positions caused by lost funding, change of work requirements, or the reorganization of a department or business operation. End quote. If constructing a wall does the trick in strengthening border security, then what's the point of having Border Patrol officers, customs, contracted security personnel, surveillance blimps, assault drones, wired fencing that stretches hundreds of miles long, and even landmines along the rugged terrains of the US-Mexico border? And we all cannot forget about the US military, right? So if security is the president's and this government's main concern, then building some border wall will be the best solution? There is absolutely no way that a government that historically uses its own military resources in order to create a war and finish a war, okay, with anybody across the world could now mysteriously feel threatened by some random immigrants that shares the same continental landmass, okay, and allow the construction of building a modern medieval border wall to become the greatest substitution in replacing our current defensive mechanisms? So what is this wall really all about? According to official legislative documents, a bill was introduced in July of 2017, whereas President Trump requested a total of $1.6 billion to be appropriated towards the construction of the wall. This bill was passed through the House of Representatives, but it never made it in the Senate. And as the new year of 2018 approached, several appropriation bills that were designed to continue funding the operations of the departments of the government were all placed on hold. In a congressional Senate record dated January 8th, 2019, Senator Merkley of the Democrat Party described the situation as 7 appropriation bills being held hostage, asking that 6 bills be passed in order to reopen the government while they negotiate the 7th, which will include President Trump's initial $1.6 billion request. So now you know what a government shutdown is. To put it in plain terms, it's when Congress fails to pass a bill for the appropriation to fund federal government operations, or if the president vetoes a passed bill, then it can result in a government shutdown. Now, here recently, President Trump upped the ante on his initial $1.6 billion request, demanding for an additional $5 billion to be added to the total amount, making the final price for a border wall a whopping $5.6 billion. Okay? And while many fingers are pointing at Trump as being the culprit and the sole reason for this shutdown, what is actually mandated into law in order to pass a bill in the first place might allow those people to reconsider their opinions. Now, for some of you who might not know already, any bill that is introduced has to go through the chains. First will be the House of Representatives, and then the Senate. And then after some final negotiations and adjustments, it is then sent to the president to be signed. However, if the president shall veto the bill, it can still be voted into law if passed by both the House and the Senate, being 2/3 majority. Okay? With all of that being said, the government shutdown was not caused solely by the president after all, because 2/3, being the House and the Senate, refused to move forward with the appropriation bills that could have ended this government shutdown a long time ago, or even prevented it for that matter. And with this government being aware of a possible crisis uprising nearly 2 years ago, should make you question if this government shutdown was pre-planned in the first place. What is also important to note is that $200 million a day were being lost due to this past government shutdown, according to reports from federal databases. Or is it being recouped off of the backs of the American people so that the funds needed for the wall does not have to come from Mexico or the Department of Defense, in which President Trump expected it to come from initially, right? The House and the Senate decided not to pass the appropriation bills, so instead they made the government workers forego their own paychecks and foot the bill. I mean, think about it. $200 million a day equals to $6 billion after 30 days. So again, was this government shutdown pre-planned in the first place? I got a chance to speak with the security officer of the Smithsonian as a contractor for the government, named Davon Russell. Mr. Russell was recently interviewed by numerous national news media stations concerning the effects that this government shutdown played on his personal life. Mr. Russell is an easygoing, hardworking professional, and he is also a father, raising a beautiful 3-year-old daughter. What transpired during this shutdown drastically changed Mr. Russell's life, and it was out of his control, which motivated him to begin to speak out about what's really going on. Here's the clip. Okay, Mr. Russell, now thank you for joining me. As an employee of the government and working under the Smithsonian as a security officer for 3 years now, how has this past government shutdown affected you personally?
With this past government shutdown that has been going on, it has definitely pushed me back as far as with my bills and not being able to do the things I was comfortably doing before. It's definitely taken effect on, the way that I live my everyday life. I've been forced to make changes and pick and choose which bills that I choose to pay week by week, day by day.
Okay, now, did you receive any contact from the Smithsonian about returning to work now that the government shutdown has been temporarily reopened?
Yes, I received the email from my union and also my supervisor that will be returning to work this upcoming Tuesday, but since that's my usual day off, I won't actually report to work until Wednesday.
Interesting. Now, okay, so even though there's good news, did the Smithsonian or the union mention anything about what will happen if Trump shuts the government down again on February 15th?
No, not at all. It's basically everything is like being played by ear at this point.
So, okay, so when the government was initially shut down on December 22nd, what was it, 2018, what did the Smithsonian tell you at that time as to what is happening when you can return to work? I'm talking about referring to at that time, what happened?
Okay, so we have funds that lasted us I want to say maybe like a week or a week and a half after, 2 weeks to this. So my official last day of work was January the 1st. So our government shutdown, quote unquote, didn't actually start until January the 2nd.
Interesting. Now, okay. Now, I did some research and I noticed that according to other contracted government employees, contractors are treated differently in a sense, meaning that they may not receive any back payments, for example, that they have lost during the shutdown. Now, is this the case for you as well? And if so, why is that?
Right now, we do not have anything in place as far as getting back pay funds to us.
Why are they doing that?
I'm not sure why that is, but the way that it works is that the people that works officially and specifically for the government, they have it set up for them basically so that they get the back pay on the tail end. Because basically some or all, I'm not sure, but some of those individuals, I'm gonna say, they still go to work with this government shutdown going on. We have armed special police officers also that work for the Smithsonian. They continue to work during the shutdown. So as far as back pay goes, he has it set up specifically for the people that are specifically employed by the government. But when it comes to contracted government, the contracted individuals, we're not specifically hired by the government. We just contract for them.
Okay.
So I guess, I don't know who I can say, but the president or whoever put this in order made it so that, you know, we're not under the same entity. So I guess he or they don't feel that we are as important as the people that specifically work for the government.
Yeah, and that's not right. I mean, you guys are doing the exact same work.
Exactly.
Now, I did see reports stating that some, even people that like guard particular areas that are, you know, of course, owned and operated by the government in Washington, D.C., they were basically working for free. And some of those people were even stating that they're not going to receive back pay. But they still had to work, like they're essential employees. They still had to go regardless. So I understand what you're saying, that it could be some of those people getting paid and not all. And that's not right. And especially if the contractors are doing the exact same thing that the people that work directly with the government are doing. I mean, this is what you're getting hired for. So what is that about? You know what I mean? Like, that has to get changed.
Well, I know I've made some visits to the Senate building, and there's definitely change trying to be made as far as them signing something or amending something as far as trying to get us our back pay as well. But
that's good.
As far as if it's actually going to happen, I'm not sure how that's going to work.
So you went to the Senate to try to get that done?
Yes.
That's very good news. I mean, man, I really appreciate that. And I'm more than sure that there's other government employees that really appreciate your bravery for standing up and speaking out about how this government is actually affecting the working class and not actually those who have political power. Might as well say that. So what are your plans now that you spotlighted these issues, and what do you plan to do moving forward?
Well, with this shutdown being over, I returned back to work Wednesday. Supposedly we got 3 weeks for them to figure out what they're gonna do with this Mr. Trump character, whether they're gonna give down payment or whatever. So I'm gonna return back to work, see how that goes with this next 3 weeks. I got some other things on my mind I'm thinking about doing, but I haven't figured it out 100%. So I'm definitely looking forward to some new things on the horizon. Other than that, you know, I'm returning back to work, doing what I like to do with the people I like doing it with. We're gonna see what happens.
Mr. Russell, just keep me posted. You know, you got my support. And if it is anything that you would like for me to do for you, let me know. So, and also, as a matter of fact, while we're on that topic, if someone else wants to contact you in relation to possibly assisting you because of this unexpected situation at hand, what could they do?
Okay, so my email is d3donruss3ll@gmail.com. And if anyone wants to donate to me, any and everything is appreciated. My Cash App is $hypnotize.
Okay, now I'm gonna have that probably posted at either at the bottom of the screen or in the description, or both, if you guys are looking for it. And the last one before I let you go, President Trump is very adamant about building this wall. And from the way this entire ordeal is being played out, he's not forcing Mexico to pay for it like he promised, nor the Department of Defense. He's forcing hardworking Americans like yourself to pay for it. And he simply does not care about who it may affect. Now, if Donald Trump was watching this, what would you say to him?
I'm gonna give the PG-13 version of this, but Mr. Donald, man, like come on now, like what are you doing, man? Like, you got to get it together. You can't really and truly and honestly believe that you got people backing and support you. Like, all you got is lies going on, dude. Like you can't be serious. You're a joke. You throw temper tantrums more than my 3-year-old daughter do. And like, you can't continue to hold us hostage. We're not your pawns. You can't do whatever you want to do. You think you can because you're the president, but we won't allow it. So I just say, you're going to have to find another way to build this wall, man, because we're not giving you the money. You probably think you're getting the money because you opened the government back up, but we're not going to cave in for you, man. So use your own money. Or you probably don't have any. That's probably why you've been avoiding your taxes and all that. A whole nother story. You're not getting it from us, man. You're not. You're not getting it from us. We don't want to give it to you. We're not going to give it to you. And hopefully we won't give it to you. This 3 weeks you're giving us, we'll take it for now. But you better figure out another way to build your wall.
It's powerful. Mr. Russell, I really appreciate you joining me. Thank you so much.
Definitely so. No problem.
The complexity of this shutdown is far more greater than one may assume. Because even though the government has been temporarily reopened, the president still did not receive any funds that he requested, which carries on the issues at hand. While speaking to the media, Trump was quoted stating, "I have other alternatives if I have to, and I'll use those alternatives if I have to." Trump has stated numerous times before that he may declare a national emergency if Republicans and Democrats cannot work out a deal that will fund the wall, which will force funds to be pulled from the Pentagon, totaling $7 billion. And the president can do whatever he wants because a state of emergency will grant him the power to override the need for any approvals from Congress. But here's the problem with that. If President Trump declares a national emergency, as if this country is somehow under a terrorist threat or involved in a war already underway, then that grants the president particular powers that are normally not permitted, like terminating selected authorities. whether it be Congress itself or any congressional legislation that was previously made law, for that matter, like revoking the rights of the Constitution and loss of nationality for native-born or naturalized citizens, just to name a few. This can heavily affect all American people, no matter if they work for the government or not, okay? And it also grants the military the highest power of authority under the president, leaving the American people under the state of martial law. While being questioned by reporters about his administration already underway with drafting papers for a national emergency order, Trump stated that, quote, "There are a lot of people who wants this to happen. The military wants this to happen. This is a virtual invasion of our country," end quote.
Look, we've heard a lot about the shutdown today. We've heard a lot about impacts on families and on businesses and on our society in general. We've heard a speech just recently on the floor of the Senate about how Democrats don't want border security, which cannot be further from the truth. What'd the president do? Well, 25 times he said, "I'm going to shut the government down." And guess what happened? The government's shut down. Doesn't take a genius to do that. I wonder what the forefathers would think today if they saw this body, a shell of its former self. And it's not due to the rules. It's due to the fact that we have leadership that won't live up to the obligation this body had set up to begin with. I take an oath of office to protect this country first. And we're turning our back on this country. We can continue to have the debate about the best way to secure the border, but it should not be done holding the American people hostage. Holding the American people hostage. Holding the American people hostage. Holding the American people hostage.
I'm just here to make you think.